Welcome to Darkest Dungeon 2. My name is Nilaus, and this is a guide to the fifth and final boss of Darkest Dungeon 2. It's the Cowardice boss, so let's take a look at it. Obviously, there will be spoilers ahead.
The house on the borderlands, half swallowed by the stain. Cast your cowardice aside, and make right what you have wrought.
I'll watch the cutscenes, but you are welcome to skip ahead if you're interested in the fight mechanics.
A precise arrangement. The sacrifice of conscience. The abandonment of self. The Iron Crown had found its king. Upon your furrowed brow, the mathematics of our existence, the geometry of the cosmos. An ephemeral equation wholly expressed in negative space. To invoke its power was to refactor the most fundamental underpinnings of our fragile dimension. To imprint one's mind upon reality itself.
Team composition is extremely important because you have to rely on long-term sustainability because it's a very long fight. So this is my team, and I think it covers all of the things I want to do. So let's take a look. Of course, at the end of the run, we have all of these buffs available, and we will just be diving into the Mountaineers area.
Here, at the nexus of ruin, loathing poured forth from the darkest recesses of your mind. Your failures took form, and the world bowed in honor of your great wretchedness. The stain of your bankruptcy frayed the very fabric of our dimension. But you were afraid to face what you had wrought, and fled down the long road of your memories, hiding yourself away. I remember our first meeting on the steps of the university. You were golden, lit from within by the glow of potential. Finally, my friend, I would see that potential realized. It is time to reclaim the world from your weakness. Meet your derelictions with blazing defiance. The equation must be balanced.
This fight has 3 phases, and it is by far the longest fight in the game, and it will can easily take you 20, 30, 40 turns depending on your DPS and your character setup. The importance is sustainability, minimizing the incoming damage and stress while consistently dealing damage the other way, so you can transition into the next phase. Let's look at the intro.
Now, upon your great achievement, the sum total of your failings, your body of work.
Phase 1, let's have a look at that, and that is the bowels, it seems.
The carious gut of the coward, rife with toxic pusillanimity.
And here, this is where you are going to regret if you have a team that's focused on plague, because this thing is pretty much immune to plague, 100% plague resistant, and but bleed and burn and debuff are just fine. And it has 2 actions, 175 hit points, so nothing major here. It starts by putting a debuff on 2 characters in your team, and basically at the end of the turn it'll cast something on those 2. So nothing much to do about this. It just means that these are the ones that will be targeted. What I'm going to do is I am going to just take my team, use it to the best of possible. Here we have acid reflux, also just everything coming in is blight, and you could sort of focus on blight resistance as well, but in all honesty it's not actually that much. If you have a bit of sustained healing, some kind of ways to just passively regain health, such as the renew from the Vestal, or whatever else trinkets that you might have that could support it. And this phase, I'm considering using the Warhorn early, but this is not the difficult phase. I would say that the second phase is a little more dangerous, so we'll focus that on the second phase. I am going to have my Vestal is going to be the focus on buffing the rest of them. The main damage is actually the front 3, and the Plague Doctor is really high damage. But yeah, I'm also really happy about my my Highwayman. just constantly critting. They're just generating lots of crit tokens, and it's going to be just making it a little bit easier. Look at that. Incision for 21 crits plus a bleed as well. Coming in with some reflex, and again, riposte is also dealing a really high, surprisingly high amount of damage. At this point, we are just going down here, 19 more damage. We are already at half health and turn 2. And we're just keeping the taunt up front so we can resist as much as possible. I've given him a poultice, so he has a little bit higher resist, although it will gradually go down. And here, well, what are we going to do? I'm going to put in the... Oh, Divine Comfort. It's not new. Divine Comfort. It is... oh, here comes the Catabolize. The Catabolize hits the 2 people who had the acid vomit on them. That one here. Gastric juices. That's the one that they will be hit. It causes horror and a little bit of damage. So it's not really that much. The Catabolize causes horror. So again, this is... it's just barely draining resources. I think this is... everything is just turned a little bit down in terms of difficulty because it's such a long fight. So the only thing that you really focus on is putting the damage and make sure that you stay topped up in all the phases. Here I have everyone just going ham on the attacks. Oh no, a non-crit. What is the matter with this? They also take 1 blight whenever they attack, but again, it just doesn't add up. You can see we're resisting most of those coming in. And let's do a retribution. That will actually do a surprising amount of damage coming back. Just making sure that we focus on our attacks coming in here. The Trammel is just a general attack, but doesn't really... I mean, it's a little bit of damage. If you have taunt and block up, it's not really going to do much. We'll put the Consecration of Fortitude because they will transition into the next phase immediately. So let's get all of our buffs up. The Vestal has 3 very long cooldown buffs. So those are the ones that we just kind of have to work with. That was the end of phase 1.
Its infernal gaze pierces the veil of reality.
Phase 2 is the Chest Eye, and it has a debuff kind of like the Denial, and also kind of like the third boss with some focus, but well, let's see. It doesn't do much in the beginning, so let's use the first turn to just deal a bit of damage. 200 hit points is not that bad. I think this might be a good time to just buff up with the Warhorn. 200 damage, 40% on all resists, pretty good. So if you're Blight focused, now you can get the Blight in as well. We can't do anything except just nuke it with a little bit of Judgment here. Again, it hasn't had its turn yet, so there's nothing. We don't know what it's going to do, but it will get its turn here. So, at the beginning of its turn, the first thing it happened is that it'll do a glare. That means that this is the one that will be Contempt. You're next. It'll have a focus. You can see on its hit points there is a progress bar, and if you hit that progress bar, you can avoid that big attack. But it's quite a while away that you can get it. But you can get here. If you see that, you can see that debuff it has. Then once and if we get below that, we will be... The Covetous Glaze is the most annoying part because it steals all of the debuffs, including the the riposte, which is really bad. So this is where how it actually deals damage. So you might want to be a little bit careful about having too many buffs on your characters because that's where it gets punished. So the first one gets punished. First phase punishes Plague. Second punishes lots of debuff, lots of buffs. And you are still next. We have removed the token that it had under its health bar, where it was doing the powerful attack, because we dealt enough damage as it was, and therefore we mitigated it. But the Contempt still says you're next. We can just... Nothing much we can do. We just continue dealing damage. Double tap is massively awesome because when it's lower than 50% hit point, it deals more damage. So it's definitely the most damaging attack we can get in here. And we're now getting it less than that. Covetous Glance. Covetous Glance. And it again steals those damn riposte skills. So usually I would be bellowing them off, but it also stole the super dodge. So, well, there we go. We are going to be taking a little bit of a beating with from our Man-at-Arms riposte skill. Again, it seems to be the Vestal who has to take the brunt of the hit. Doesn't really matter that much. It's 9 damage. It's not much. Haymaker is the big damage dealer. 29 damage. It's not nothing. That's why I wanted to make sure that this was the phase that I want to avoid. So you can see again, it now got this orange buff, and also the health bar has a little sliver there. So if we can remove hit points down to that point, it won't be doing that big unavoidable attack. Let's heal up for a modest 59 damage. And now it is below points. We could also have stolen it, but with that dodge token, we just want to get the damage in. So the hammer, that's just a normal attack, nothing, that's a default attack. It's still working towards that big attack. And the question is now, if I do Retribution, then I've put a lot of buffs that it will steal. Now there's nothing really worth stealing, so it'll continue to just trammel, which is not really that big of a deal. Let's put a little bit of healing so everyone gets topped up from random damage. We still need to deal the damage enough to get it below there. Let's see, can we do it? 21 damage. It is, yes, so we avoided that big attack. And here comes another hammer attack, but it is now the end of phase 2. There we go. Come on. Shoot. End of phase 2.
Behold the hateful god upon his throne. Your failures made flesh.
Now in phase 3, it has a monstrous amount of hit points, 999, plus it deals this damage. Pity those who glimpse the mind of the god. Well, so we can't know its ability. That's fine. It doesn't really have anything dangerous. But now they will all have a lock corresponding to how it works in phase 1 in Denial boss. But it alternates. So once they use it, then it will switch. So you can see the Vestal was at healing, and now it goes over to melee. So basically just make sure that whatever you're on, you have something to do next turn. Now it has these small cheer-ups, actually proclaimers. They're a little bit more feisty than the normal cheer-ups. And the objective is to kill those two in order to transition. It is kind of a little rhythmic thing here. You're looking at those 999 damage and just going like, well, that's going to take a while. And it is going to take a while. But it's not, it has a rhythm, and there's of course a gimmick. When something has 1,000 hit points, there's probably a gimmick. Although, that's we can still work our way through 1,000 hit points with this team quite easily. So they will also be doing these buffs here. The worshipping part, which we don't want to let go, so we need to make sure that our damage is up for it. And the attacks from the boss is not really that dangerous. It's basically strange access, which gives a lot of debuff, and futility, which gives a little bit of stress. And that's kind of it. We want to take those out. They have about 26 hit points each, so should not be too bad. We'll also get all of our buffs, just continuously running with all our buffs. Or should we use the fact that, yes, 28 damage, so we take one of the cherubs out. And then we need to take the last one out, and then we have a nice crit with our pistol shot. And the back row, 22 damage, there we go. And that, once you've killed these two, then the next time the boss gets, the next turn, start of turn, the boss will do a new gimmick. But hey, we have free reign, so let's start wailing on the boss and just take some of those 1,000 hit points away. And also just prepare a little bit more for the next round. Actually, it's not... Well, okay, we'll set this up so we're ready for this. It'll then have a healing lock. And right now, we just get our buffs up again. They're on the 5-turn cooldown, so just keep those two Consecration of Light and Consecration of Fortitude. Keep those up. Now we get Face Your Failures. So this is not like in DD1 where they die. You just choose one of them and they will be responsible for killing some failure from their past. Which is a pretty cool idea. They cannot be hurt by anyone else. They have 2 attacks per round, and they will ignore taunt, and they will only be attacking the one who summoned it. So it is basically a one-on-one combat, and the rest of the team can just focus on the boss or healing or whatever. And we'll just put Magnesium Rain. You can see it will also resist every debuff and everything coming from anyone else. Strange Access, removing some debuff, removing some buffs and adding debuffs. Now at this point, this is the one that I chose Highwayman, because the Highwayman can deal the most damage, should be able to kill it quite quickly, and it also has the advantage that yeah, don't do that. Hit the boss. Just walk it down. I mean, it's 13 damage, doesn't seem like much, but it all adds up. It adds up. Regression, that's just, it'll do 2 attacks per round, focused on it, and then it will buff up, so it becomes more and more dangerous. That means if you have someone who can't deal 30 hit points in reasonable time, then it's going to be a little bit tough. But that's... So choose your DPS. Also the advantage is that if... No, not if. When they kill their regression from the past, their failure from the past, they will be removing that lock, and they'll have more free reign for the rest of the fight, which is super handy. Here we have Battlefield Medicine. I can only use it 3 times in the entire fight, so use it wisely, plan it wisely. Futility, the only other attack, and again, doesn't really do much, to be perfectly honest. With all the crits we have, we're actually dealing a lot of damage. Unfortunately, we do not have a crit token. It feels weird not having a crit token. We're so used to it, and we do modest damage again, and we'll have to wait another turn for killing this one. But in the meantime, we've been working our way down, getting close to taking 100 damage off from the boss. And you can see the boss is not actually that difficult. That's kind of the thing, that it doesn't do much. Of course, if you... This is a pretty strong team, really buffed up. It's also pretty much my favorite team. The only alteration would be maybe taking someone else instead of Vestal. But the first 3 are the ones that form the core of pretty much any great team I have here. Because the healer deals a stupid amount of damage, and Highwayman is the primary stress reliever because there are so many crits with grape shot crits all the time. And then we can go. Unfortunately, we have a lock on ranged, so that's why we wanted to choose this the Highwayman first, because we wanted to get rid of this lock, because it's kind of useless without having that. And we just keep our Divine Comfort, we keep our 2 locks, our 2 consecrations up from the Vestal, and that will be just giving a ton of buffs here. And again, we just keep dealing damage on the boss, and it doesn't seem like much, but it's gonna work. Regression, it deals a little bit too much damage here, and we should... There we go, finally. And now we even have the Grape Shot crit and strength token, 17 damage. And now what happens? Here comes the big gimmick. And we get Exaltation, -5 stress, flame +15, and heal for 33%. So big heal and 200 damage. It's a little bit too good, I think. It doesn't need anything except the 200 damage. If it dealt 200 damage, it'd be fine. But the fact that it also just recovers so much is just makes it this fight just a little bit too easy, at least for this team. But at least if you know what you're doing, then you can choose the right fighters, or the right ones for this. In this case, you can say that my Plague Doctor, the Highwayman, and the Man-at-Arms can easily deal with their shadows, but that's not so much the case for the Vestal. So we'll skip the Vestal in this case and do the 3 rounds with... I know it comes Samsara, that summons the 2 Proclaimers again, and then it's basically a little bit of a repeat. We need to kill those 2. They only have 26 hit points, so a good 17 damage there, then it's going to be taking care of it pretty well. Oh, unfortunately, we are unable to do the melee. Oh, wow, that was a waste of using a crit token for that, but hey, it's fully healed. And we can just get a little bit of burn also on the boss here. Another thing you can do is Cause of Death. If you have a dot heavy team, you can really get the maximum value out of Cause of Death. Alright, we took out the first one, and then the Cherub on the second one will attack and get countered for a nice 12 crit on Riposte. Riposte deals so much damage. And at this point, well, let's bolster to remove the stress. Just always try to keep health maxed up, and stress as low as possible. And we can now go to the next phase, the Face Your Failures. We are going to choose, well, both the Man-at-Arms and the Plague Doctor are extremely good at this part. Here we'll again have another 30 hit points, and we'll just get us a crit. Nope, no crit. That's too bad. But still, 14 non-crit is pretty damn good, and we've done more than half of the damage here. Now, the boss is it below? He's not quite below 50%, but we'll still give a nice 25 damage with every double tap shot. Again, the attacks coming in, 6 damage. Like, why? That's so irrelevant. But yeah, it's... We accept it, and we just Consecration of Fortitude on the boss, on the tank. Not the boss, the tank. He'll get his second attack, and then he won't be getting any more attacks, that old professor. Ooh, a crit. And that gets a Retribution up. I think it should get Retribution. because Retribution will just soak up the hits from the boss, and also prepare yourself for the Samsara in the next round, because the Samsara will come. Now we get the Exaltation,
Has no place in the compassionate mind.
and 200 more damage. Now he is really low. It's 324 damage. We could 326. We can actually just walk this one down if we feel so inclined. It's not really going to be too much of a problem, but we'll just follow along. The hits that can go in on the boss will go in, but the rest of it comes in on the Samsara. You did not do the Samsara. I think you should only do that at the end of the round. There we go. You're now less than 200 damage. That means that... No, less than 300 damage. It's funny, when it starts at 1000 damage, it suddenly feels like 300 damage is nothing, but any boss that had 300 damage would feel kind of overwhelming. There are just a lot of rounds where you have nothing to do except just deal damage to the boss, and that's something you want to use, that opportunity to deal more damage to the boss. Here we have the perfect ideal situation with a grape shot, which deals 17 to the boss, as well as getting the little proclaimers. Kind of getting the sense of it. It'll just rotate like this, and with the... I don't know what happens if all 4 of them have been unlocked. That'll deal 800 damage. I can't imagine a world where you haven't done 200 damage to the boss while all of this works. Stars Align is just a buff, so it doesn't really do much. At this point, I don't really think it makes sense to do Retribution, because it's already have 2 riposte tokens up and running. And just keep. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the attack on with the Dong field, so we'll do this one. That's a little bit. We just need to make sure that it doesn't get 3 actions. And in the meantime, 21 more damage on the boss, 237. So when we get that last part, okay, strip away the tokens. When we get to the last fascia failures, it should be pretty easy to get that. Again here, why not just put another 11 damage on the boss, 224. Empty vessel, and then there's the counter, and then we should be able to take it out with the bit of judgment. There we go, perfect. And then we get to the face the failure, and it is pretty obvious which one should be facing the failures. I'm gonna set my Retribution up so that we are fully geared up to take care of the incoming face your failures. We're gonna choose here. That'll be one of the soldiers coming back, and we are gonna continue. It's actually just a bit of a race now. Will we will the other ones kill the boss before or not? 22. It's working. It's working really quickly. Futility does honestly nothing. Consecration of Light can be put on either one of them. Yeah. And now they'll attack. Those are going to attack straight into the riposte. And we can then, unfortunately, we can't attack because we are melee locked, but that's not a big deal. We already have 4 to 5 tokens, block tokens of various sorts, so no worries there. Attack and counter. Now it doesn't really have a lot of hit points, 13 hit points. And we should be getting close to the end. We're still going to race it to see. We're down to pretty neat. 170 damage. 170 damage. We could take that out easily. Especially now, 22 more.
Well done.
There. So we're ending at 146 before we... Oh, no, we more damage. Oh, damn, it's so close, actually. 135 damage is where it's at. And as you kill this one... Oh, it just doesn't attack. Oh, that's funny. So I guess the boss is going to live a little bit longer. Wow, 13 damage. And then it took 2 damage from the reverberating readout. And we get the exaltation and kill the boss.
To destroy the thing is to destroy yourself. But the world will spring anew from the memory you kept of it.
I hope this was useful. Let's have a look at the end zone. In the meantime, you can hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and stay effective.
Your confession is complete. The cosmic axes are aligned once more. Forgive yourself. Humanity is a weak hypothesis, after all. An unbalanced equation, an imperfect angle. We sow the seeds of our ruin and seek to deny its reckoning. We make mountains of our mistakes, monsters of our misdeeds. We slip and stumble, we fail and we falter. And yet, in each of us, a hopeful light. Holding fast against the hellish shadows that gather between our good intentions. And in each of us, a limitless emptiness. Of a darkest dungeon.